respect to the variance, I think it's not substantial at all. I think a lot of the other houses park their cars this way, and there's no reason they shouldn't here just because it is a short-term rental. So I think I would grant both the conditional use permit and the variance.
Other comments, Paul?
Yeah, I agree with that take. I do. There was another member of the audience who wanted to say something too. We can get to that later. But
We'll come back to you before we vote. Okay.
I mean, there are concerns both ways. I'll mention the fact too, I'm a real estate agent as well too. I work with a lot of investors, so I've even actually shopped for houses here in Anderson, considering, hey, I might use that as an Airbnb. So I understand the demand. I understand from the township's perspective, it does bring money in. I mean, $200 to $300 a month. If they're not cleaning it themselves, they're hiring some local cleaning team. You know, it's right there by the beach mall, 5 mile shopping. People are gonna be driving there, shopping there, eating there. You know, if they're visiting family, same type of thing, they're gonna be doing that. Same time too, I see it from the other perspective where I've worked with buyers and, you know, they're trying to find houses, and how do you find houses when all these investors are buying it up? So there's a, you know, I understand both sides of the argument. So it's kind of a, you know, falling back towards Mr. Nye's statement that, you know, this is what the township trustees are kind of guiding us towards and what they want. I mean, they're kind of setting the policies for this, and you know, just as with the prior case with the antenna, it's kind of outside of our purview, and we kind of have the control criteria has been set forth. It seems to meet all the criteria, so it would seem to be an approval would be appropriate in my mind.
Steve?
Notwithstanding the direction from the trustees to encourage this kind of rental situation, my opinion is that this will change the character of the neighborhood. As it did on my street, and a house went from single-family ownership to a rental, and after a year, the guys moved out and probably left 40 cubic yards of trash in the front yard. It's totally inappropriate. So, is it the right thing to do? Is allowing people to come in and yeah, they may spend some money. This is an investment opportunity and not improving a home to turn around and sell it to a single family that wants to take up residence and enjoy the quality of life that we have in Anderson Township. So I am really torn just based on my own experience. Now, my own experience is based on a long-term.
Yeah, that's fine. No, go ahead, Steve.
My only experience is based on a long-term rental. And the people that rented were not invested in the neighborhood at all. Didn't, and in the end, didn't care about the neighborhood after leaving the significant amount of trash in their front yard. And I had to call up and make a complaint. There were other complaints so that it could get cleaned up. And it did, but it took about 4 days of trash, and people were stopping by, looking through the trash. May not necessarily be evidenced here based on short-term rental, but it is going to change the character of the neighborhood. And is that the right thing to do?
Prior to John and I speaking, I'll let you come up if you want to address one other thing before we.
All right, guys. I'll just pose the question to you guys then. Does the lack of background checks mean much? I guess you can answer it after I sit back down, but I thought that would resonate more. And yeah, it just seems like the anecdotal example we have here is what I can work with, because it is going to change the neighborhood. I mean, it just is. Yeah, I mean, I came up here and said I've stayed in lots of Airbnbs, but those were in, like, I didn't travel and stay in streets like Collinsdale in other cities or similar style neighborhoods. So, I mean, didn't probably come across right, but yeah, it is going to change the neighborhood. And I think lack of background checks just coming in a very short-term basis, it should be a concern. Thanks.
Thank you. John, you want to continue with our discussion?
I just think it's a bad location for short-term rentals. Personally, I don't know that I'd be interested in having it in the hood.
What are the good
Regardless.
locations? I mean, like, if not here, where?
But more on the main drags, if you will, like on Beachmont, on Salem.
I mean, it's 500 feet from Beachmont.
It's still a very residential neighborhood, in my opinion, and to me, it's not commercial. And Airbnb is sort of like a commercial environment, if you will. And regardless of how much you try to vet the tenant, it's not going to be 100%. And unfortunately, it's not good for the hood.
Okay. Thanks, John. First thing I'd like to say is to the owners, I think you've done an outstanding job of presenting, and I think looking at the interior photos, this is obviously not just a flip and move. I mean, you've committed, I think, to a pretty nice interior for this residence. And I sense that you have a vested interest in this beyond just turning dollars, okay? I find this to be one of the most difficult cases since I've been on the board, because I think the township, through their trustees, have said they want this to happen, okay? And the way I'm reading this, the only variance, they seem to meet all the criteria, and the only variance is regarding the parking in the front, and there is considerable parking in the neighborhood in the front right now, as I witnessed when I was out there looking at the property. And I find myself very much torn between my personal feelings on this matter and what our direction is from a legal standpoint.
Well, I feel like the part of our responsibility is also to recognize the community and the community's wants and needs. And in this particular case, my view is that the housing is tight. It's single-family housing, and you're real close with your neighbors in that type of a layout. And so the long and the short is that I don't really feel that those homes there were meant to be short-term Airbnb type properties. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense from an investment standpoint, but from the standpoint of the community, I think that it's a much more commercialized type of an investment and should be in a more commercialized environment, not in a residential, immediate residential environment like this. So I just feel it's a wrong product and it's in that place.
Mr. Chair, can I put a couple more questions to the applicant?
Sure.
if you're
Please come
willing
to the podium.
We've talked, Airbnb has been genericized a little bit. Do you intend to market this on Airbnb specifically?
We're going to use a third-party system called Evolve. They're a third-party manager. That is one of the tools they use. They do their own websites and means to draw people in. Airbnb will be one, VRBO. Another one is just furnished finders. So, and to clarify too, not all the time will we only have short-term rentals. We also will do 30 days and longer. Like we have some 4 nurses coming to stay this summer. They're already staying for 3 months. So that's, that hope to answer your question.
One of the things that you said, I think in your written submission, and I think you mentioned it, is that you've worked with a mentor in this type of business, let's say, and you mentioned someone specifically, I think in Florida, but I'm wondering what your familiarity is with the short-term rental market in Anderson. Are there other short-term rentals in Anderson, as far as you're aware, and do you know where they are?
I don't know where they are. I believe I was told I'm aware of 8 that are currently operating that I thought the community knew or the township knew about. I've been told about 6 or 7 others. You know, there's a lot of people doing this all over the city. There are groups of people. There are Facebook groups. All these things. You know, and there were many of those that their feedback to me is, why bother? We didn't. Don't even go to the board.
Yeah.
And that's just not how we do things. To address some of Mr. Haber's concerns, you know, the property will be professionally maintained with a lawn service, with a cleaning service, all those things. You know, having stuff in yards is unacceptable. It's unacceptable as a neighbor. It's unacceptable as a provider of a service. If I could bring up a couple other things, I have to confess, it seems like we've been very judgmental of guests here tonight, that they're all bad and they're not good people, that they're not single families coming to be in our community for some good reason. Children's Hospital is a big draw for that. You know, one of the biggest opportunities we've had, and other people, and I know in Cincinnati have had, we've talked about the housing market, which I'm very readily aware of that, what that's like. And many of them are using short-term rentals for stopgap between having sold their house and can't buy a house. So we'll also be facilitating that, want to be part of that solution. It'd be great if these people were in another community, they happen to use our property here in Anderson Township and fell in love with Anderson Township and chose this community. So I really see us as a gateway of bringing people here to share the community that we've learned to love and enjoy and spend the most of our time in with others.
I don't have any other questions for him, but I guess I'd like to ask staff what they know about other.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, guys.
You know, Paul just pulled up Airbnb on his phone here, and there's, you know, at least half a dozen properties right in that area that
Yep.
are listed today.
Yeah, based
do
on
we
a
know?
little bit of research we've done, there are approximately 12 in or around the township, or kind of in the Mount Washington area. About half of those went into place prior to our regulations. So about 6 since 2020 after that text amendment occurred.
Okay.
Would those be grandfathered, the ones that were in place
Correct.
beforehand?
Yeah, the ones that were in place were.
Any other questions? Please come to the podium if you'd like to address us.
Just one final note. I think I mentioned on Huntcrest, and you said there'll be grandfather. That's bad news because it's horrible. I mean, these are real nice people. I can tell. And they're going to do better than some of these other places, but it doesn't belong in our neighborhoods. And I mean, we've been there longer than anybody, and this is going to totally change our neighborhood. There are places for them that you can meet your goals and your directives, but I think you got to be selective, and you can't change the neighborhood into some place that accommodates these places. And I think you're correct. There are other places, maybe closer. It's a more commercial type thing, where like hotels and motels they're not in smack in the middle of our neighborhoods. But what you're doing is you're putting a motel right in the middle of our neighborhood. And would you want to be pulling out
I mean, this, when we pull out of our driveway, it's directly across from us. So I think we're going to be impacted most, except for the neighbors right next to them too. So, you know, I would ask you to ask yourselves, would you want that? You all live in Anderson, I assume, you know, in residential areas. Do you want that? Would you want that right in your neighborhood? Or would you want it in a more appropriate spot? That's all.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, short-term rentals would only be grandfathered in if they went in prior to our zoning text
Yeah,
amendment.
that's what I was asking.
Okay.
If they were in
Just want to make sure that
business
was clear.
prior to.
If there was a situation where one went in without approval through the Board of Zoning Appeals, it would effectively be a zoning violation.
Okay, thank you.
If those grandfathered in, there's nothing even complaint-wise that would bring it in front of us.
I don't think so, no.
No, okay. Did,
Can I ask, when was that?
I believe it was April of 2020. April 2020,
oh,
They were operating.
prior to April 2020.
before we go to our discussion, further discussion, is there any more public comments you'd like to have? I'd like to limit them if I could, you know, but go ahead, the two of you, put your hand up. Please come up and address it.
Yes, I just, whoops, live wire. Just put yourself in our perspective, if you will, right now on what would happen. How would you like it if somebody was going to put in a short-term rental in your neighborhood and you don't know from week to week who's showing up down there, where they came from, or any of their background? Okay, and just put yourself in that place and consider what you would do if it was in your neighborhood. Thank you.
One last quick comment you want to make, and then we'd like to continue with our discussion and move on to voting.
What I neglected to say is that actually property next door that the driveway's abut
No.
is a duplex owned by CMHA. So it was already.
Cincinnati Metropolitan Housing
Yes, sir.
Association?
Yes, sir. I was brought to our attention by some of the neighbors. And so, I mean, there's already multifamily there. The other thing is, as a landlord and as a resident of any neighborhood, you never get to pick your neighbors. And whether that's because they bought the place, whether they rent the place, you know, and even, you know, yes, that is the extent of what I would like to share. So,
Thank you very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate all your input
Yes.
tonight, and we understand both sides of this, and it's difficult for us
Sure.
who sit on the board
Yeah.
to listen to both sides and weigh all the evidence that you presented us, but we really appreciate you guys showing up tonight,
Yep.
okay?
Likewise.
That said, to address what he said, go ahead, Gary, you had a question?
Well, I just remind the board that this is a conditional use application in part. Obviously, there's a variance that goes along with that, but a conditional use application, you know, necessitates the quasi-judicial review, which means you have to take the evidence in and look at how that comes to play with the standards that are in the zoning resolution. It's not as if this is a zone change where you can look at opinion, does this fit? It's the board's responsibility to look at the evidence and judge that evidence based on the criteria that's in the zoning resolution.
Right.
You're not approving a zone change.
Right.
Okay, you're looking at whether this fits within the definition of conditional use for the trustees have set up in the township zoning resolution.
Right. To address what one of the members said, what would happen if they did this at the house next to me? I don't know if I'd be happy or unhappy, but my regress would be with the trustees. You know, the trustees have given us a document, and I believe what Gary's telling us is our responsibility is to rule based on the documents that's been provided to us.
I appreciate all the testimony I've heard today, and I'm still in favor of granting both.
I'm in favor of granting it because I don't see where it doesn't violate the zoning regulations as given to us by the trustees.
Right, and I think to flesh that out a little bit, the standard is no adverse effect. It's not no effect. changing the neighborhood isn't the question. It's, is it an adverse effect on the neighborhood? And that doesn't mean, you know, I appreciate that there are long-term residents of the neighborhood and they're worried about change. Everyone's always worried about change. That's the only thing that doesn't change, right? But I don't think there's evidence of an adverse effect. You have different kinds of neighbors from time to time. That's part of life. I don't think that's adverse. Certainly not inherently adverse, and there's nothing I think I've heard that is specifically adverse in this instance.
Paul, I'd like to get your feel for how you feel about this.
Yeah, I go back towards I think as Mr. Nye had said, you know, we're not elected, we're appointed here, and, you know, back to your point as well, if there's redress to be made, it's made with the trustees. They kind of gave us the framework which we're gonna have to deal with, and as our council said, this is what our framework is.
Thanks. Steve?
I certainly believe that there are places in the township that I think would be appropriate for these short-term rentals. As I stated before, I think this is going to have an adverse effect. This isn't a way to build community. One of the hallmarks of Anderson Township is its sense of community. And I know everybody on my street, except for a house that turns over at least yearly. And most everybody on my street, I would say everybody on my street is invested in the other people, and we take care of one another. And that's what I think is significant about Anderson Township and what I think is significant about this street. I mean, I don't have the density on my street that these people have. And the rental that was across the street, those people didn't, and I'm not judging it. Let's see, let me be careful. They did not involve themselves into the street, in the community, and I'm on a cul-de-sac. And they did not make themselves a part of the community. And that's one of the biggest things that I have. I mean, because otherwise they wouldn't have treated the community the way they did. And I'm not saying that these people will either, but it will change, and I believe will have an adverse effect on the street.
John, do you have anything to add? Nope. Okay. Is anyone on the board ready to make a motion?
I would move that we grant the conditional use permit and the variance request.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And PJ's back.
Mr. Nye?
Aye.
Mr. Sion?
Aye.
Mr. Haber?
Nay.
Mr. Halpin?
Nay.
Mr. Shekels?
Aye.
I move we take a recess.
Thanks to all who attended this evening. We really appreciate your input.
That doesn't matter.
Is there a motion? Can we adjourn, or we got to wait till after we?
Need a motion to take 5 minutes, man.
Yeah. What's a motion for a 10-minute recess?
Unanimous
Okay.
consent.
Yes. Jeff will be bringing drinks back.
What are you still doing here? What are you still doing here?
I missed them when they came to my house the other week.
Oh.
I think it was last week you guys came out about the new one. That's what Paul had said too. Yeah. So we expected, we had
tense there for a little
That's the
bit.
first time we've had a split decision.
Certainly the first time we had 3-2. I think maybe we've had a couple 4-1s.
We just had one today.
Well, yeah, today, yeah, we had one today. That's right. I've already forgotten which one it was.
Monday.
Yeah, good grief.
I just think it's too dense a neighborhood for an Airbnb. Now, I recognize that they're gonna probably be honest people that are not gonna cause trouble for the hood. Because I've rented Airbnbs myself.
It just doesn't add to the value of the neighborhood. It adds value to the investor.
I absolutely understand that perspective. I get it.
But your point was a good point, as far as the zoning requirements.
I get it. I don't like to disagree. I get it.
It's like the intent of this, we have insurance.
I know.
It's the easiest one. It's just done what to do. Exactly.
Hey, it wasn't us. Most of the Airbnbs I've rented though have been overseas.
Is that right?
London, Paris, Italy.
I don't do that many, but I guess here and there. I'm leaving town tomorrow. I'm going to Arizona for a while. I'm doing a couple days in Airbnb in Sedona.
We actually were in Scotland, and we wanted to see the fireworks. It was over New Year's, and because in Edinburgh they have the best fireworks in the world
I've heard that.
for New Year's. But unfortunately, our rental ended on the 31st.
Don't you know when the New Year is? What are you doing?
I don't know how we missed that. So we ended up in London, and we ended up in
What
an
a bummer of
Airbnb
a
in
place
London.
to spend a New Year.
I know. And they had pretty good fireworks too. They were better than ours.
I bet.
We went to a park across the way and watched the fireworks over the Thames. Thames, whatever, however you pronounce that river.
It sounds great. I've never been to London or Edinburgh.
Yeah, I've been there.
It's fun. Was that just this year you did that?
No, we haven't actually. We were going to go to Spain and got canceled on us. COVID. So we went up to actually New England and went up to Arcadia National Park.
Yeah.
Stayed in. We camped, and, which is like a tent with a hard shell around the base of it, and then a fire pit. It was pretty neat.
Yeah.
It was a good time. We went to Cadillac Mountain.
Yeah.
And have you been to Cadillac Mountain?
I have not. I was going to go during early COVID.
Yeah, but if you look down into the valley, you have some lakes down there, and it's like if you were on, if you've ever been to Switzerland, if you've gone up to the top of the Zugspitze, which is the highest
Not
mountain,
either, but go on.
the highest mountain in that part of the country, world, and you look down, it's called Interlaken. You see all those lakes down there. It's pretty neat. So Cadillac Mountain kind of reminded me of that.
That sounds wonderful.
And so then we dropped down to Newport, and we stayed in on the coast in one of those mansions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. And they had a couple of car museums there, old car museum, kind of neat. And then we went down to Boston.
Sounds great.
We stayed right across the street. We stayed at the Fairmont, Fairmont. And apparently, the Kennedys, John Kennedy has a suite in that hotel, and the family still owns the suite.
Must be nice.
Right across from the old.
Sounds great.
So that's what we did instead of going to Spain.
No,
What can you do?
Spain, but
So Angela's working on a new trip. But when my first wife dumped me, I decided I was going to go to Europe every year. And I have.
good.
Until COVID.
Yeah.
And my current wife, she likes to travel, so she did that.
So your current wife seems as if there might be another one.
You never know.
Be careful.
So Yeah.
Ready to get this voting done, journalizing.
See, here are the fireworks.
It's delightful.
See, they got that trees too.
Will our laser pointers be available for the next meeting? Each one of us need a laser pointer here. So
The Churchill War Room.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
That was not this time, that was the previous time.
It's I keep getting
That's
advice to
pretty
go
neat.
check that out. Everybody says it's wonderful.
It's just like Angela made, she's got these things that come up on TV.
Sure.
And, or on the internet, and they just had one in England.
What's that?
They featured the war room.
Ready? Okay, we're waiting on Steve too.
Were you over there recently?
No, this
We're hanging back. We're hanging back. We've been here this long.
See, I bought that hat over there, right behind, one of those palaces. One of the hat shops. Why did you just buy the palace? Because the hat was cheap.
Overworking. And so, yeah, I've been betting the analog flows, and just when I did that, and I had that.
I still look pretty.
Yep, we're on it.
I look kind of portly there, don't I? Yeah.
Yeah, blame it on the COVID or something like
I
that.
blame it on the jacket.
You're all bundled up for the fog.
And that's a barber jacket too. That's what the queen wears.
How'd you get our jacket?
I caught her off guard.
And her guard's off guard.
All right, let's get rolling here. Actually, that's the radio tower case is the one I expected to be long all night long.
Antenna.
Oh, all of them took a little time. I was kind of surprised. The signage one
Yeah,
took longer
right.
than I expected.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Thank goodness for that. He's looking out for us. Someone's got to be. Yeah. That was fortunate.
See the guy.
I never would have.
The property.
I mean, who knows this stuff?
Holy cows.
Thank goodness he does.
Stop this and send the ball to the Hall of Fame. The Reds are winning.
Oh man.
Okay, let's get going here and get this going.
I just feel, I agree with you. I think it's just something you don't put in an immediate residential neighborhood.
So Gary's going to stick around with us for case 7. So we'll
Which one's that?
journalize-
You wanna do it
that was for
first?
the ham radio. Yeah, we'll journalize
wanna
that
do it
one
first?
first.
All right.
So that one
Case
is pulled.
7.
That
Are
one
we
is pulled up.
reconvened? We never adjourned. We just took a break, right?
Yes.
Yeah, just
All right.
Recess. So we have case 7 pulled up, which was at 1259 Sutton.
Yeah.
Is ham an acronym?
It's one of those things he says ham radio against amateur. I thought it was safe to throw both of those.
Sure. Okay. Ham.
We've got access to an internet, can't we?
No, we don't. We can't.
Okay. I'm ready to scroll up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got this book called Antenna Height and Communication Effectiveness. It starts out amateur radio operators for hams.
Should have asked him about the license plates.
Is everybody ready to move on?
No, sorry.
Number 2 over there, you got that
Yeah.
last sentence.
High and mighty.
You got
I like
wood
that.
screens, the existing.
It's even red for us.
Wood screen singular.
That would work, right?
Yeah, I would.
Right there.
So I think we've nailed it.
That was inaccurate. It's not a commercial, it is commercial, but it's right around residential property. It's right behind the
Okay. Go ahead and scroll up.
Are we gonna say anything about the
Yes.
Code of Federal Regulations?
I think we've got to, or the statute, right? We've got to put in there something to the effect that,
Yes.
you know, in addition to the board's authority is,
Federal and state regulations.
yeah,
How do
right.
we word that, Gary? What would you say there?
Is there a number that?
Do we just want to cite these codes, House Bill?
I mean, I think if we just say,
Just, federal and state regulations, this variance does not, is in compliance with federal and state regulations. Something to that effect?
You could say
This,
something along those lines of the board's decision is in compliance with House Bill, yada, yada, yada.
House Bill
Yeah.
1.
Yeah, if you got the House Bill
Oh.
number.
2031.
Okay.
Yeah, go back up to the first list of conclusions. We grant the variance for the following reasons: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know,
Well, just that-
in consideration of the factors in revised code section 5502.031B, or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Just say
see,
we've
you
considered.
see that paragraph that you wrote in the staff report?
Where
Just
is my
add
staff
that there.
What on earth?
ORC, whatever.
Oh, here it is. I got it.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't need all these chairs there.
Zero.
This decision is in consideration of, with something.
In
that-
consideration of the, for the following reasons,
Yeah.
variance opposite change such good, for the following reasons.
Well, I don't know
Section
if we have to go into all the reasons.
5502.031.
We're just in compliance with it.
Right,
This decision is compliance with or something to that effect. And they got a better read.
Yeah, I like that.
sure,
Yeah, it works.
yeah.
Getting late.
That's right. I noticed Steve kept moving further and further back till we got in the dark so we couldn't see him at the end.
No, it just got dark.
Oh, you can copy that section if you really want.
Yeah, it's ORC down, yeah.
And then there was the condition number 4, for licensee. Or,
It's-
Gary, you wanna take a stab at this?
Yeah,
You had good language.
Yeah, what is- Why didn't someone write it down? Go to the video.
You said something about the involvement of
Yeah,
a
the
license.
owner-
Associated with conditions. A licensed amateur ham radio operator remains associated with the property.
Did you hear that?
we're talking about the owner entrepreneur licensee, basically.
What do you mean by associated with the property? Yeah, resident or owner,
He seemed
I
okay
would
with
say.
it, so I didn't
Or
question it.
licensee, like I said, if somebody, the woman who owns the property,
Can bring someone over.
could allow her son or someone
Nephew.
else to come in to use it, and that would be a licensee.
Well, yeah, I'm just trying to avoid the case.
Property owner would be responsible for the antenna, but we'll allow someone who's a radio operator to utilize that.
Must be associated, I guess I'm trying to figure out what associated means. Is it the kid who rode by and said, I got a hammer?
With a ham radio. Probably behind
I got a
demand for
ham
that,
and
considering how
cheese.
many people came.
So we had licensed, like a licensed or property owner or tenant of the property.
No.
As-
No,
as
not
owner
like a
or
licensee, like
primary-
you have license to use it, like you're licensed by the FCC.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So let's leave out owner, tenant, anything like that. A license associated with is just specific and vague enough.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fine.
Do we need to mention something about FCC?
Yeah,
Ah,
sure, go ahead, give one more.
Can we put an antenna instead of property?
Now, what happens if it doesn't? So we need to say that the tower must be removed if not.
well, the condition lapses and they lose their variance, and then they're in violation.
Well, that's what we gotta put it in there somehow.
I don't think we do. It's in the code.
Yeah, then they'd have to take it out.
So the question is say in 2 years, he just says, I'm out of here, he takes off and doesn't say anything. You gotta wait for someone to explain to have it torn down.
Yeah. That's the way it works.
By then, all the
Yeah,
neighbors are used to it.
He's not gonna do that. No way.
Not that guy.
Nope. Nope, he was into it, and I appreciate that.
Those things aren't cheap either.
Anything can happen.
We ready?
Must not be.
You guys ready?
Mr. Chair, regarding case 7-2022 BZA, I move that we approve and journal our decision.
Second the motion.
Mr. Nye?
Aye.
Mr. Cyan?
Aye.
Mr. Haber?
Aye.
Mr. Halpin?
Aye.
Mr. Shekels?
Aye.
So, I think we denied case 3, is that correct?
We denied both of them, 3 and 4, correct?
No.
No,
We
we
did-
granted 4 as modified.
We denied 3,
denied
we allowed 4 through the end of the year.
So we'll hold off on 3 tonight. Staff can do a
Cool.
It's been 5 or 15 years. What's another month?
Oh, yeah, that's the bigger sign. The smaller sign is the one.
I know, isn't that wild?
Let's go ahead and knock it out. Knock both of them out.
Isn't that the one where the house was being built and
Mhm.
Yes.
so that's
Yeah.
number 4.
Yes.
Terahar is 4.
That's
Yeah.
That's granite.
I'm sorry.
And it says for 3 years. We gotta scratch that.
No, well, that was what the applicant requested. So I think we
Oh,
could
that's
say,
true. Yep.
we grant the variance as modified, or we
Scroll down to
we
the end,
grant
yeah.
a variance,
Yeah.
but not the requested variance.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll just put that in the conditions. It must be taken down by 12/31/22.
Well, you still got 3 years up there.
But that's what, but
That's
that's
what he-
still what the
that's what he
application
applied for.
requested.
Oh,
So that's still an accurate description of what,
okay. All right, good.
as described below, as granted below, subject to conditions described below, something like that.
As, yeah.
Yeah, and now we just make sure that one of the conditions below is get it out by the end of the year.
Subject to the following conditions, boom. Add the
Yeah.
December 31st date.
Site
Yep.
plan, move it out of the,
these reasonings?
yes.
Yep.
So condition number 3,
Sign must be removed by December 31st, 2022.
yep.
You did that very well.
How did you get to 11-point font?
At 11:59 PM.
You could always say on.
I know. Oh, well, see, he listens to you.
Some people do.
We found the one. We found the one.
I don't think you put a comma after on.
Yeah. Well,
Then you don't put a comma.
Yeah, then don't put it after
and
either.
you don't need it either. There, yes.
Both or neither, I don't care which.
Don't you love all the critics when you're? I'm wrong. It's all good. It's like having 12 people
Okay.
or whatever watch over your shoulder.
Yep.
What you get when you put it on screen.
Mm-hmm. It's part of the job.
And then change the other date down the bottom, too. Hey, it's A, capital A.
Jeez, oh, Pete. Which case? 5? Go 4. Mr. Chair, regarding case 4-2022 BZA, I move that we approve and journal our decision.
Second.
Mr. Nye?
Aye.
Mr. Sine?
Aye.
Mr. Haber?
Aye.
Mr. Halpin?
Aye.
Mr. Shekels?
Aye. All right. Okay. 3 ought to be easy. Why?
That's
Denial.
next month's problem.
We always wait a month.
Wait a month? Okay.
Yeah, I put an approval and I didn't give any reason about it though. So we gotta do some, they need to do some work on this.
He doesn't have a predicament that he needs to obviate.
Okay.
That's what I think.
All right.
And this one, we asked that the one panel be taken out.
The panel, a full panel in front of the house. We didn't want to do a half panel.
Right, he's gonna take out the first 8 feet.
8 feet. would
First
be
8
good,
feet, yeah.
But now this is the request section, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a request, so that all stays the same, nothing changed there.
That's where I got fucked up. Don't go.
Don't read to what they wanted.
Well, I thought he was changing it.
Yeah, the answer is just,
Disclosed doesn't mean they know about it.
it's true.
Legally, they know about it.
There you go.
They're on notice. Sure they are, yeah.
The No, it's
You're an
just
attorney, you handed plenty of
the
contracts. so read
first
this. Oh,
panel
I'm done.
closest to Little Dry 1. It's on the variances granted by the subject to the following conditions. The first panel, i.e. closest to Little Dry Run, is to be removed.
If we can go 8 feet, that'd be,
Well,
I'd like a measurement.
Yeah, because he put them 8 foot apart, he said.
okay, well, that's those panels are 7 foot 11 and a half, so we. No.
Give me a
We're good.
specific, think about trying to.
We're all a little
enforce
slap
that.
happy here.
8 feet, we can take a tape measure to it. One panel, we can't.
Did we say October 1st, 2022? Is that a date that?
I was guessing when you guys would want it removed, but.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, you're funny. Do we
One
want to?
panel, he can get that out in a.
He can get out in 10 minutes. He might have it out already. Okay. Hold on. Like, do we want to make reference to the drawing that was submitted?
That's all part of the document anyway.
Well, so for this one, our staff findings were not all of them were supportive, so we don't have, basically the reasoning in here is basically what's in the zoning resolution, unless you guys want to add to it, which is what I think Jeff was doing.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is that we should grant the variance subject to the following conditions. Substantial conformance to the plans dated March 10th, 2022, provided, however, that the applicant may not erect or maintain a fence, in the.
Just remove the first. Just
Submit a new site plan with a fence that's only 120 feet.
There we go, we're good then.
That.
Okay.
I do like
I'll
the,
have to
the,
go
the,
against Doug
the
Evans a lot.
flower bed.
That didn't even come up into discussion.
I know, well, he threw it out in the front end.
No, he doesn't need a variance for that. It's just flowers.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't need a variance for that.
You can come put flowers in my house.
Noting, okay.
Extra
There's a feet, so you can get rid of the word.
Oh, who caught the feet? That was good. I wasn't gonna catch that. All right, I'm good with all this.
Yep.
First, we know as staff that first section.
And
Okay.
then they need to put some reasonings up here though,
Do you
for
guys wanna
why,
mention anything
why the
about it?
property was special and unique.
The location of the property in relationship to Little Dry Run and the neighbors, and taking into account Duke's easement.
Yeah, I would put it in 3 there, that the predicament can't be feasibly obviated due to the existence of the Duke right-of-way or easement or whatever
Yeah.
we call it.
Of Duke Energy, right away.
Easement.
That's just easement, period.
Yeah.
And then the character talking about the road and how it curves.
I don't think we need to go into the road.
Yeah, do we have to?
No, I don't
Like
think
something
that,
else.
I don't think that will alter anything of the
No.
Mr. Chair, with respect to case 5, I move we approve and journalize our decision.
Second.
Mr. Nye,
Aye.
Mr. Cyan,
Aye.
Mr. Haber,
Aye.
Mr. Halpin,
Aye.
Mr. Shekels.
I
Couldn't see you back there.
Probably should have asked this about 5 seconds ago. Do you want a date that it needs to be removed by?
put September 1st. That's plenty of time. We'll get it done sometime over the summer.
I was gonna say 30 days, but okay.
I think you'll have it done probably over the weekend.
See, this is the challenge, is now we're looking for a revised site plan by September 1st.
Right.
And the work shall be completed by, take that out, okay, and put it, and the work shall be completed by. You don't need a comma there, though.
No, you don't.
Just enter. Make that 2. Make that condition 2. Work completed by September 1st. Yeah.
I think rather than Gary teaching us law, we need to bring an English instructor in here once a year.
I don't care, but thanks.
Wow, yeah.
I was at work today and somebody said, "You gonna watch the Reds tonight?" Oh, they start to Cincinnati. Are they at home or away?
Home next week against my beloved Guardians. I will not be here. It's time. It's
Mr.
confused.
Chair,
Time has
regarding
come.
case 5-2022, I move we approve and journal our decision.
Second.
Mr. Nye,
Aye.
Mr. Cyan,
Aye.
Mr. Haber,
Aye.
Mr. Halpin,
Aye.
Mr. Shekels.
Aye.
Did you say hi?
Statues right outside the stadium, across a bridge that runs through there.
Okay.
Old Art Deco statues, they're called the Guardians of Schools. And they're like an iconic legal school.
We didn't put any conditions on this one, did we? No.
No.
Just the driveway needs to be paved,
The new logo with the G and like the wings, kind of looks like the statue.
Oh, that's a stretch.
The logo's really stupid.
What's the mascot gonna be?
Slider.
I always thought Slider looked like smallpox. I don't know.
yeah. Why is April highlighted?
Please ignore some of these. I have Grammarly and it.
Oh, okay.
It hates condition number 2.
Yeah, that was a good suggestion, wasn't it?
Can you fix that? Is that text different? No, I mean this one. There's no way. Okay. this was 12, so went to 14, that was 11, went to 12.
Are we turning off the lights out there?
Usually when they turn off the lights, that means they want you to go home.
Yeah, we got it in. That was part of the, okay, so it's good.
Yeah.
That's good. We just leave that in there. We don't need to change that. Oh, you can change the font. Okay. Just, yeah, just,
So don't they need to,
No, substantial completion with
start within 1, complete within 2.
I'll check on that.
Start within 1 year, complete within 2 years.
Structure shall be started within 1 year. The plan was March 14th.
In substantial compliance with those plans dated.
March 14th. Glad he finally got something. We've been working with him for years.
Still have that house to do.
That appears to be a go.
Mr. Chair, regarding case 6-2022 BZA, I move that we approve and journal our decision.
Second.
Mr. Nye?
Aye.
Mr. Sion?
Aye.
Mr. Haber?
Aye.
Mr. Halpin?
Aye.
Mr. Shekels?
Aye.
Jeez, oh, jeez.
That was the house.
And then we gotta do
Short term.
then we gotta do.
This is, the only thing we need to add here is it's with the plans.
That was the Airbnb one.
Not yet.
The house they tore down had an interesting look to it, I thought.
What did that look like?
It
I don't
was
even
just-
remember that.
It looked like a Quonset hut.
Oh.
Might want that now.
A T-shaped Quonset hut.
Hmm.
Did
all
we
looks-
put in substantial compliance with the plans submitted? Or,
Yeah, we don't have any conditions.
Yeah, conditions. Yeah,
Regarding the house, the rental house.
yeah.
So you guys have all heard of American Homes for Rent,
No.
No?
company that owns like nationally like thousands and thousands of
Oh.
houses. They buy up like subdivisions and then rent them out.
Yeah.
What do you think is worse? Having a VRBO or having that?
Yep.
Because I've seen both.
Existing.
I'll take my VRBO any day.
Long-term tenant.
Those are the houses those are the houses where you get 14 yards of garbage in your front yard.
I think that's correct.
I've walked through plenty of hoarder houses.
I've
and
got
they're
the
occupied, and
drawings
they're just as
as
bad.
315.
It's by the person.
315, there's no stamp on it, but it says issued for variance on that date. Issued for zoning approval. Really, it's March 11th and
No, no,
15th.
So is our actual
There isn't one.
there is?
Yeah.
We just say the plans submitted with the application.
Yeah.
What about on
We
the
don't know.
outside of that manila folder, March 17th?
Nothing on it.
Nothing.
Yeah, the plans themselves are dated March 11th and March 15th.
Okay, well, let's put both those in there then.
What's that?
Who forgot to stamp them?
It's on the outside, this one, at least this one is March 14th.
Okay.
All right,
That
well, there we
works.
go.
Okay, we'll go with that.
How could something be inside dated
The
the
plans are
15th?
dated,
It's
but
received
it's
on the
submitted.
14th?
Date plan submitted, not dated.
That is a
Case
good
eight.
question.
He predated.
He snuck in
Brad, I thought that, is this
after you
Wolfangle
stamped it
or-
and added more files.
That's Wolfangle.
That's better
This
call
is,
Saturday,
this
so
is
did you
the,
see that?
No.
this is the Hermitage Club. So it's March, it was March 17th.
I'm sorry, guys.
You ever watched that TV show?
I've not. It's on my list of ones I'm gonna
I
get
think
to
we
one of
just
these
ought to go
days,
with
and I
the
haven't
month
got
of
to it
March.
yet. Everyone says it is.
Yeah,
So anyways, his.
What's the case number here?
You good? Okay.
Case 8?
yeah, this is the Hermitage Club.
Mr. Chair, regarding Case 8, 2022 BZA, I move that we approve and journal our decision.
Second.
Mr. Nye?
Aye.
Mr. Sion?
Aye.
Mr. Haber?
Aye.
Mr. Halpin?
Aye.
Mr. Shekel?
Aye. Oh, we know all down the little, this is the one we've been looking for.
Okay, I always ask this question.
Yeah, oh, yeah, hold on, let me look it up.
If I voted nay, do I continue that vote then in the journaling of the decision?
Yes. Even though this accurately reflects the majority of the board.
journal, this isn't actually the decision.
This is the.
This is the decision.
Is this, oh, I thought this was just the paper
4523.
trail, but this is like,
Oh, Collins.
Yeah.
But the decision is based on the majority, not the.
A straw poll.
Yeah.
The first vote is, the vote during deliberation, I believe, is the straw vote.
yeah, because see, I voted for this journalizing on the one case that I voted against.
Do you want to go back and redo it?
No. Yeah, I got nothing to do till
If-
7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
What if he flips his vote on this one? Then we have to
So
go back.
whenever we take a straw vote, that vote is not put into the minutes. The vote for decision and journalization is that motion, I mean, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
So then, if we're against it, then we should vote against it.
You two should vote no on
Yeah.
this, even if it accurately describes what the majority of the board determined in the straw poll.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay?
I think.
Yes.
Okay, let's go with that.
Works.
You want to go back and change your vote on that other?
That's true.
No, I'm
You-
not gonna spend another hour here just to do that.
He needs to direct them to.
No. It's 4 to 1. I can read the, I can count.
Progress.
All right, I got a question.
Oh, I see, I forgot you voted no on that one.
That's
I
okay,
did
well, I'm
too.
good.
Which one did you vote no on?
I don't remember.
No, he voted yes. We all heard it.
Yeah, I heard-
Okay, here's a question.
What are you talking about, John?
Why do we define short-term rental as STR if we then don't use STR instead of short-term rental later?
Yeah, let's get rid of
Why bother? Just take it out or use STR every time.
STR.
That seems like less work.
Yeah, it does.
So this guy said that he was gonna have some nurses there for like
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
So not a short-term rental.
Nope, he doesn't need our permission for
All
that.
you gotta do to solve that problem, you know how that, you.
But he wants
I
the option
rented
though.
from- And then there's 3 girls. The 3 one girl's gonna run June, July, and August. That's it.
we don't regulate that part of it.
Yeah, if it's 31 days. Yeah.
If it's, yeah, 30
You go
nights.
outside the house on the 91st day and pull them out.
I mean, they don't need they don't need our permission to stay 31 days, but they need our permission to operate a place for 29 days or 30 days, 30 nights.
30 nights. Could be 31 days. Could not be 32 days.
No, it can be, but it wouldn't be a short-term rental.
Right. That'd be an LTR.
This is if you want to have someone paying you for the weekend. Or 29 nights. standard in here.
I mean, his arguments were all good arguments, but, I don't know. They've already renovated the place.
You did a nice job on it.
It does look like a nice place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
200 to 300 a night. I mean, they
Yeah.
you get your occasional drunks though, but
It's probably gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I am surprised we don't have
that's
more.
why that whole bollard idea makes sense, because I could see a drunk person just going off on the driveway over there.
That's what I
We're
was
working
thinking.
on it. We have a
Yeah,
subcommittee for hospitality. We're gonna try and get a hotel
Yeah.
in Anderson, yeah. Economic Development Committee.
I don't know where one would go.
On Collinsdale.
Angkor.
Just take out 4 of those houses and build it.
Put a hotel right in there.
No, that'd be a zone change.
I don't know where the
I'm
demand
sorry.
would be
I'm
out
sorry.
here. You know, I just
There's
don't
an
think-
Angkor. It's close to the freeway over there.
Well, one thought was down across from the gambling place.
Yeah, near
Belterra.
Belterra.
15-minute rental.
Right up, right near the interstate and,
And the other thought was right up here,
Well, it's not the flood zone.
right over here.
That's true.
Somewhere.
Or just put up on stilts.
Okay.
yeah. Well, you can
I
build
don't
it up
see
the
a
hill a little
Hampton
bit.
Inn
Might be a
coming here.
place there. I don't really know who owns that land.
Okay, I'm good, if you want to keep scrolling. This is all,
Yeah,
we didn't
how long
address
is
any
that
of this,
till
no
that
changes took place.
comes along?
None of that's changed.
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, when they finish the connector over to the whatever.
From there to Columbus.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I couldn't, but someone could.
No, Brad's going to right into Cleveland this summer.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Good for you. That's fun.
From here to Cincinnati, or here to Columbus last year.
Cool. Cool.
You bike there?
How long does that take you?
This one night, we stayed in London. It's like a 90-mile ride one day. And probably around 30 or something, maybe a little these days.
I thought
Yeah.
you stopped at Springfield.
We did, we stopped in, no, we drove back. Our parents lived. It's all downhill. Yeah.
There is a race between Cincinnati and Cleveland and Cincinnati now.
we gotta
Yeah.
I misspoke conditional use. Yeah. Small residence or no? That's not what I want.
So Gary, technically, you could change your vote now, right? If you're just saying
Yes.
that was a straw vote, you know.
So you don't want to change your vote, Paul.
No,
We're
no,
gonna
I'm
redo
just,
the
I'm
whole
just
thing.
asking. I'm just asking, because we've got that on record, okay? But it's
don't need to
not
vote
been
anything.
voted on. That's the
Not
difference.
official till it's signed.
Okay.
I put procedures in there because it outlined that.
Should go to R. Yeah.
That computer just knows. Steve and the computer are competing.
It's winning.
I think we're good. Are we good on this?
We're good.
Mr. Chair, with respect to case 9, I move we approve and journalize our decision.
Second.
Mr. Nye,
Aye.
Mr. Sion,
Aye.
Mr. Haber,
Nay.
Mr. Halpin,
Nay.
Mr. Shekels.
Aye.
Yeah, it's been interesting if somebody would change their vote from a yea to a nay. If you get to go on property.
That's not my job.
Do we need to formally,
we gotta
do we
print
need
all
to
these.
formally adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So do you want to come sign these
Unanimous.
tomorrow or just do them now?
Let's get out of here.
Mr. Nye?
Here, we got minutes for
Mr. Stein?
I don't have to sign anything.
Keeping here.
No, I don't want to, but I will.
And then Mr. Halpin, we got, we have minutes, I think, for you. Need advice? No, we need the second, Mr. Haber, the secretary.
I used to be the secretary.
I know.
See y'all next month.
See ya. See you guys, thanks everyone. Oh, wait, no, that's just the chair. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Gary, thanks for sticking around.
Sure.
Yeah, shred pile over here?
Yeah, just.
That's the pen I borrowed several hours ago. All right.
Any cases coming up in May?
There's,
Yeah, what's the list look like? There was one that was bombed.
No, it's the resolution you have to.
We may have a few applications,
Okay.
I would have to.
Yeah, business is booming right now.
There's several.
We can imagine.
Lots of one.
See you, everyone.
All right.
See ya, Jeff.
The resolution.
All right, I'm gonna go for these, sorry. That's okay.
what was that? That was the minutes?
Yeah, those minutes
Okay,
from
all right.
February, yeah.
Okay, where's the button? I keep pushing.
Good work tonight, guys, thank you.
Thanks.
Stick around.
I really thought I didn't think that last case would go.
That was our most controversial
Yeah.
case we've
I
had
figured-
since being on the board.
Yeah, I figured that
We got 4-1, but not 2.
the other one would go forever.
Which one, the ham radio?
Yeah.
Yeah. I said 10 o'clock was kind of the goal, so we're right about there.
Well, when you throw in that Ohio Revised Code,
There's not a lot you could say, you
there's
know?
not much you can do.
Right, and that was his argument from the get-go, is he came in and was like, I shouldn't even have to get to the report.
Well,
I should just be able to do it. That was his MO from the start. He's already threatened to sue us at least 10 times.
He's what?
Threatened to sue us at least 10 times.
Oh, jeez, he's that kind of character.
I got the pleasure of meeting him
Yeah,
when I went out. Did he come out and see you too when you were on site?
no, I didn't.
Oh, really? He came out and saw me. Even though I called ahead and said I'm coming within the next hour. So,
Yeah, sorry to keep you.
it's okay, we get overtime pay for this, don't we?
You already got pizza last month. You probably get to go to the spring game on Saturday.
Well, I got, like four grandkids games going on.
Oh, okay. Oh, those will get rained out too.
I don't have any first-hand knowledge of this, but I think beyond the rain, I think that.
I think Vic wants to keep it tight,
Competition
yeah.
is so tight for not just.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
QB, for multiple positions.
Yeah.
that He wants to have a.
This was just like a nice excuse to, yeah, I hear you.
There are.
Any word on who's leading?
Probably right now, I'd tell you there's probably 6 to 5 positions that are up for grabs.
Well, all three.
Now, the offense is in good shape. but
Yeah.
QB, all
Oh,
five
yeah.
linemen are coming back.
Yeah,
Both
yeah.
tight ends, you got receivers.
Can't believe the
coming
tight
back,
ends
running
came back.
backs,
Yeah.
tight ends.
Yeah,
So the offense is,
yeah,
it's all
yeah.
the
It's the other
decisions that
safety,
get made on
yeah,
defense.
yeah. It's the other safety, the corners.
Now Huber's coming back, this will be his 6th year.
Yeah.
He has his undergrad.
Well, I mean, that's,
And he has his
Yeah,
master's,
yeah.
and now he's getting, I said, what are you gonna do? Because I said, the Veterans Golf Outing was
Yeah.
last Friday.
Yeah.
I was talking to his dad, said, what's he gonna do? And he said, well, he's got his master's, he's got his undergrad, and now he's gotta take something to fall, so they got a
Yeah.
real estate license course over there. So
Yeah.
he get his real estate license.
yeah. But I mean, that made the difference last year with Kobe coming back, with Darian Beavers coming back. I mean, that helps bridge that gap.
And they got, field goal kicker this year.
God, he can kick.
The kid out of that,
He's good, though? Well,
Yeah, he
done.
was the #1 field goal kicker in.
I saw that.
in Division II.
Yeah.
Yeah,
got to the point last year, it wasn't even.
They were
really
trying to
strong.
figure out a way to get ready for the.
I was hoping everyone was. And then what, Smith stepped up in the Cotton Bowl, so. Made both of
Still
those.
from the trip.
Oh, yeah.
I told you that part of my trip, didn't I?
Seeing the cheerleaders.
What was that?
So, you know, I work with the team and as a volunteer. And so the morning of the game, we're always out to stay about 7, 8 hours beforehand. So me and 3 other guys head out to the locker room. We get into the locker room, we hear all this noise blaring from the field. The Cowboys got a game this Sunday after ours. So we're supposed to go figure out what's going on out there. So we go out the tunnel, walk out of the field, and there's the entire Dallas Cowgirl cheerleading squad in full dress doing their routine. And let me tell you, they're all a lot better looking in person than they are on TV. And then, where we just dumb luck, they march off the field in formation just from me to you. And I looked at him and says, don't let me do something stupid.
Like, don't stare.
Yeah. Who's the old guy who's drooling? And Bench was there for the whole, he was there for practice on day before the game. He came to practice the day before the game. And he was there. We do, the first part of Friday walkthrough was just plays and games. We do softball, we do soccer, we do all sorts of playing around the field. Bench was our catcher for the wiffle ball game.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. He said, I can't squat down anymore.
Yeah.
And then he had an interesting comment. We're talking about people we don't like and whatever. He says, I don't like 2 people. He said, I don't like Joe Biden and I hate Mike Brown. And we said, well, why do you hate Mike Brown? Because they spent all that money on the football stadium and so many things had to be admitted at the baseball.
Yeah.
Yep.
You just got a better deal.
He was first in- he
And
was
an
first-
earlier deal.
He was first in line. He had a lot of funny stories.
Keep that up forever.
There was a couple times I was sweating. You got to like a minute and a half.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was good.
They're gonna be the first person to hear it.
Now, we've had it ding multiple times.
The more I sign, the sloppier it gets.
Do you guys prefer using the clock, see it makes a difference in getting?
I didn't even think about it afterwards. The only reason to have it up there if we think we're gonna have a contention, you know.
We're gonna just start using it more though, because I feel like it gets people to the point.
No, that's true. Can't hurt. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt.
Is that last resolution? What last one?
Eight, oh.
Oh, no, I've done all I can do.